Chat, how we doing this Saturday afternoon, Saturday night, depending on where you're at? A lot of big stuff happening in the last 12 hours. You know, we did a live stream last night or yesterday at 5 p.m., talked about a couple things, a couple rumors, and then we had an absolute bomb dropped on us last night at about, let me check and see what time that was, 11:06 p.m. Huge bomb, MLS changing type stuff. Hope you guys are having a great day. Not sure if you guys heard of this. I'm pretty sure you have of this news that has came out in the last 12 hours. Germán Berterame going to enter Miami. And we're going to have Scotty from the Dry Pink Dialogue come on and talk about it as well. He should be here in a couple minutes. We'll talk about some of the moves and mechanisms of what they're going to have to do to get this, what it's going to do for Inter Miami, how it's going to change, how much better this team is going to be, a team that is already having the best offseason in Major League Soccer. But if you guys haven't already, please make sure you guys give us a like down below. Helps us out. Let's try to get to 100 likes like we always do. Smash the like button. Also, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. 320 subscribers away from 12,000. We're getting closer, so make sure you guys subscribe if you haven't already and hit that little bell notification so you guys never miss any of our streams, emergency streams, new videos, and all MLS content you guys aren't going to want to miss. So let's start off, read this real quick. So last night, Felipe Galindo reported that Monterrey had their $15 million release clause exercised by Inter Miami, and he's going to join Messi at Inter Miami. Berterame would give Inter Miami a proven physical number 9 to lead the line alongside Messi in transforming their attack for their 2026 title defense. This is massive. And Mr. I appreciate you for stopping by. Says, can't stay long. Got to nip out about 10 minutes. Well, I appreciate you for stopping by. Also appreciate you for being a member of the channel. And guys, if you haven't checked it out, make sure you check out being a member of the channel. It helps us out. We have some cool things. I'm going to get more involved with our members and doing some more streams. Make sure you check out the membership. It's only, I think, $2.99 a month is our lowest package. It helps us out. So make sure you check that out as well. But this is a huge deal. And I've been saying all off season long, even since last year, Inter Miami desperately need a striker. They need a striker badly. And a lot of people had some pushback on that. There was the rumors about them signing Lo Celso from Betis as a DP midfielder. I didn't think that made any sense. And then there's been a couple other rumors about Koke or Antoine Griezmann possibly coming this summer, which also made no sense to me. They don't need another big name player. They need the best players they can get. And that's what the theme of this offseason has been, is youth and quality, not status and name. So they've kind of changed their direction as a team. This just continues that theme. And they get a striker who might be the best striker in CONCACAF. Some of you guys will say that you don't agree with that, but that's just my opinion. I think he is the best striker in CONCACAF, played for Monterrey, and he had, I want to say, 50 goals and 114 appearances just in league play for Monterrey in his time with at Monterrey. And he has been a hot name for some MLS teams. A lot of MLS teams have been trying to buy him for a couple years. Last season, Cincinnati and Portland had tried to buy him, and it was close to getting done. And then he pulled out last second and didn't play or go to Cincinnati or go to the Portland Timbers. So Inter Miami able to chase and get a guy who's been very, very highly touted and wanted by a lot of MLS teams. And we have Scotty here too. Let me bring him on. Scotty, you there?
Yeah, what's up, man? How's it going?
Going good. I'm sure it's going well for the Inter Miami fans. This is like Christmas every other week here.
It definitely feels that way. Basically, since the playoff run began, it's been great news or a great game every week, really.
Yeah, so I want to talk to you because we've talked before on Twitter about the lineup and stuff, maybe had a couple disagreements about what's going to happen, but we'll get into that in a second. What was your initial thought? I mean, this was some late breaking news. This was broken at like 11 o'clock last night. What was your initial reaction when you saw this?
They're going for it in terms of the CONCACAF Champions Cup. They could have held this DP spot for the summer and maybe had a wider range of players that they could have gone for with this spot, but obviously they would have missed this CONCACAF Champions Cup run. And listen, to their credit, Jorge Mas at the celebration for the MLS Cup said this is what they want. This is their primary goal. They've backed that up with some huge signings already this offseason. But to pull the trigger on this one, to get this striker, to get this number of goals in the lineup, I think is like really an all-in move for this tournament. And I can't explain it any other way. They are going for this with everything they have, and it's pretty exciting to watch.
So I want to read this comment real quick that Jorge Mas posted over a month ago, because the guy does cash the checks he writes, right? I mean, he's backing up what he says. He said, post-championship reflection, what an epic run to become MLS Cup champions. Our last 9 games was an example of excellence. We expect 33 goals and a plus 25 goal differential. In moments, the best football we've ever played. But the best version of Inter Miami is yet to come. We cannot and will not stay static. We promise our fans and La Familia that we will reload in 2026, as our primary goal is to win the CONCACAF Champions Cup and qualify for the FIFA Club World Cup. Stay tuned as the bar is reset to a higher level. My God, was he was not lying, was he? He was being completely honest, and he backed it up.
I obviously am a fan of other teams in other sports, and to see your owner come out and say something like this and then to actually back it up is one of the greatest feelings, and it makes you feel like you have a chance to do everything you could dream of, and that's always been the motto of the club, freedom to dream. But it is easy to say. It is another thing to consistently back it up, and to his credit, he's been doing this for years, and that's why Messi's here. That's why they're able to put this together. But yeah, I mean, it's incredible. And when I first read that, I got excited just reading a tweet, which is, something in itself.
Yeah. Also, too, I was thinking about this because I'm going to read this lineup that I saw about proposed, what the starting 11 could look like. And I was just thinking, because I covered the league, and it's kind of a little staggering, a little surprising that that Inter Miami's probably 6th best signing this offseason would be a lot of teams' best signing this offseason. That's really good for you guys and really sad in a sense for other teams. But they really are just lock and loaded for the CONCACAF Champions Cup. I do think they want to win MLS Cup again, obviously, but They are really laser focused on winning the biggest trophy in the region. And I'm telling you, if I told you before right after they won MLS Cup, that they actually would have a better team in 2026, I think a lot of people would be skeptical just because of how hard it is for a team in MLS to really get better after they've already won the cup. But my God, they are this might be the best team I've ever seen in MLS.
Yeah. Listen, I don't know how detailed you want to go, but they certainly had some reasons with the roster that allowed them to have this type of off season, and they've certainly pulled the trigger on everything. But it's been a fantastic offseason. It really has. And I don't know if the team's going to be better overall, but I think they're going to be better defensively. And I think they might score more goals. And, if your build-up play is slightly worse because of it, I think maybe that's a trade-off you take. And it is really an exciting time. And I really can't portray enough how on cloud nine I think everyone in Inter Miami really is about this.
So let's talk about a friend of my Twitter account, talked to her several times. Alex Winley had shared what she thinks is going to be proposed starting 11 for Inter Miami in 2026. And this is really what I wanted to see them do. Now, a lot of people, I think maybe even you, and I think the guys at Battered Herons were also in on this, thinking that they wanted to see what we saw last year. Messi playing more the false nine, Tadio Yende kind of tucking in, and then Silvetti obviously tucking in. But this is what I really wanted to see happen, Scotty, just because I think this lineup right here. Now, obviously, we didn't know they were going to sign Berterame, but a DP9 is what I was wanting. This is, I think, is going to get the most potential out of this team because Messi can do what he does best: play underneath and just be a playmaker, a true playmaker. And we've really never. Now he's always facilitate. He's the best passer, dribbler, scorer, everything you can think of in soccer history. But we've never saw him play a true number 10 spot. And I feel like now we will get to see him play an actual 10 spot, not just be a 9 or a winger making plays.
I want to be clear. If you told me the day after the MLS Cup final, this is what you wanted, I would have agreed with you 100%. It was only that they were making some moves that made me think they were going in a different direction that kind of had my head thinking maybe it will look more similar to last year. They brought back Luis Suarez. They were talking about bringing back a lot of the players that led them to where they were last season. Allende, which they did get over the line. Baltasar Rodriguez, which as of a couple days ago, that looked like it might be happening. Probably isn't going to happen now that they signed Berterame. But going back 2 months, I 100% agree with you. I think this is where the team should be heading. And so, it is fun to look at this potential lineup. And there's a Telasco Segovia that's not listed on here that's pretty talented. Noah Allen, a guy that you certainly feel good about in your starting 11. There is not just these 13 guys in this 11, but a couple depth pieces too that makes you feel incredibly good, not just about your top end talent, but also you can mix and match your rotation, your midfield, your front line a little bit for game specific opponents or situations or whatever to be potentially the best team we've ever seen in the MLS.
Yeah, and we just saw today that Jorge Mas announced, because someone had asked, is Yande gone? Or no, he's coming back. I don't know exactly what they're planning to do because the fee that Celta Vigo was wanting for him was a little bit too much. It would have made him a DP. So I'm assuming they're going to get him on loan again.
I think what they're going to do is they're going to work out a fee that leaves a substantial sell-on clause for Celta Vigo, brings the fee down within the range that will give him max TAM cap charge.
Yeah.
And he might have to take a little bit of a salary cut to make it work, but I think he's going to come in as a max TAM.
But he's going to be back. We'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably what they will end up doing. And he'll be back, so they're not losing their Golden Boot winner of the 2025 MLS Cup playoffs. And you know what's honestly scary about this is we really haven't seen some of these guys really gel together outside of just a playoff run. We haven't seen a full season of Silvetti, who just turned 20 years old, who still has a crazy high ceiling of potential, play next to Messi for an entire season. We haven't seen Rodrigo de Paul get to play in his natural position because him and Busquets played the same exact position. We haven't seen Allende play a full year in that form. And also Dane St. Clair, I mean, he's just kind of falls by the wayside because of how many other big signings there's been. I mean, this team just has so much potential. I even would go as far to say is this could be the best starting 11 in North America.
So many things you just said there that would get me on 5-minute tangents, but you're absolutely right. Sovetti, I think, has a chance to be the second best player on this team if we're talking about the end of the season, looking back. Like, I think he has that type of sort of impact potential. The defense is improved markedly when you take out a Busquets from the midfield and you put in a true defensive midfield in an Ayala or Yannick Bright. Reguilon, I think, not going to give you going forward what Jordi Alba did, but defensively he could be an improvement. Mikael, I think, is going to be an improvement. And then Dane St. Clair is, Ustadi was not good last year, and Dane St. Clair is the best in the MLS. So defensively, I think they're going to be much better. And then you're right. If they can get it gelling offensively with Messi pulling the strings, there's a lot of goals in this offense as well. And so I want to be fair to Busquets and Jordi Alba. Some of that ball progression, I think, might diminish a little bit. Their ability to control the pace of play might diminish a little bit. But again, there's a lot of goals in this team, and it's a much better defense. So it is really exciting to look at this 11.
Well, I want to talk about a little bit more about predictions, like personally with Berterame, with this service, what he could do. But before we get into that, I want to talk about how they're going to be able to do this, right? Because originally they were going to do the 4U22 model, 2 DPs, and they maybe change it in the summer and sign someone, like you said, maybe a bigger name available after the World Cup, which I'm glad they didn't, because they don't need any more big names. They have the biggest name in the world. You just need the best players you can get, not the biggest names. So it looks like Toto Alvarez or Talasco Segovia are the two most likely to move if they choose to. Well, they're going to have to do this if they want them, but those are the two most likely to leave in order to be roster compliant. And I think you said earlier, you have until the season starts to do this.
Yeah, just throwing out a wild thing that might upset a lot of MLS fans. They could actually buy down Talasco Segovia. His salary and transfer fee combined you could take him out of U22 status and keep him on the roster, provided they had enough allocation money to do that. But I think the more likely thing is they're going to move on Toto Aviles. He's a player that was really big, key piece for Tata Martino. Was given a couple chances early in the Javier Mascherano era, and it became clear over the course of the year that there wasn't a ton of interest in Mascherano's perspective in making sure this guy's a focal point and developing and trying to move him on for a big fee. I think they're ready to move him on. And I think from his perspective, if you don't have that buy-in from the coaching staff and the club as a 21-year-old center back, maybe it makes more sense for him to move on too. So I would look at him as the guy to move on if you're an outsider looking in, is the most likely.
Yeah, and so I think that I did hear the Segovia thing, like you said, that they could buy him down and they would be roster compliant. I think they might do that in the short term if they can't move off of Toto Alvarez or get a deal they're comfortable with, either selling him or loaning him out. Has there been any rumors? I mean, I don't really think I've heard much. I heard Toto Alvarez was going to be shopped at the beginning of this offseason, but I really haven't heard anything.
Jorge Mas owns a club in Spain, and it's in the second division, and so I think maybe that's sort of like if we have to move him off, that's a place that would be interested in him. But listen, I don't think they're upset about taking a loss on him if that's what it takes, and maybe it's more about let's spend the next 3 weeks trying to find the best deal. But once that European transfer window gets close to closing, I think they're going to pull the trigger on the best deal. They are willing to, with the David Ayala move, potentially have $2 million buy for a player that might leave for free next year. They're obviously willing to spend a lot of money on the striker. Like, I don't think making sure they get a profit on Aviles or making sure they get sort of what they paid for him back is a big concern for them. I think it's more about how do we make sure the roster that's here is as good as it can be. And so there is no rumors, but I think that's more about we're just going to see what we can do until it becomes time to actually do something, and then we'll pull the trigger on whatever's the best offer.
Yeah, and one other thing too I like about this offseason about Miami, and I've been disappointed about, there's one thing I have been disappointed to see them do since Messi got here is, we touched on this about the summer perspective and maybe sign a big name, is not just sign all these former friends, players he played with, sign the best young quality player you can around him. I don't even think we have truly seen the best of Messi in MLS just because of how much he had to overwork with some of the guys' deficiencies around him. Last year, before Silvetti was starting, it was pretty much Messi or bust. If he was having a bad game, or not necessarily having a bad game, but being managed or contained in the match, they weren't doing well. Inter Miami, they were struggling. But now they have it's like the biggest youth change I've seen. Yeah, and you mentioned about Jordi Alba. Jordi Alba still was great in the attack. Very suspect defender at this point, but he was 36 years old this year. I mean, Father Time is undefeated, right? You're not going to be great forever. And obviously he had a lot of hamstring issues and stuff. And, you can tell he aged a little bit, but Reguilon is almost 9 years younger, and he is going to be a better defender. In the attack, probably not going to be as good. But they have plenty of options. I'm just excited to see what this team can do with the youth and have Messi have all these young guys. I mean, if you look at the starting 11 right now, the second oldest player is DePaul at 31. Last year, they had 4 guys that were over 37 years old, not including Messi.
Yeah, no, I what we saw from Messi over the last, and I want to give him more credit than just the last 4 games of the playoffs, but the last 2 months was sort of a next level compared to anything we saw from him prior to that. And that's saying something considering, he was an MVP in 2024 and the Leagues Cup run in 2023. But it really did take his game to another level over the last 2 months of the season. And now, like I think you're getting to, they're surrounding him with pieces that I think make it even easier and facilitate him being that playmaker who can kind of just let everyone else around him do all the hard work, all the runs, and he can kind of just use his brain to put himself in the position he needs to be to most greatly impact whichever game he's in. And then to your other point about not only going with guys that Messi's comfortable or familiar with, I think it did open up the pool to really sign some really fantastic players. Mikael, I think, was maybe my most exciting signing because Inter Miami has consistently, since Messi arrived, gone for that Argentine value center back, whether it was Nico Frede or David Martinez or whoever it ended up being at the time, and it never really clicked. And now you don't go for an Argentine, you go for a guy from Brazil who's already proven it in this league, and you're able to get him on loan. That to me was a sign of them opening up their pool of potential players, and because they were willing to do that, finding a real gem that's already proven he can handle this league and all the competitions they're going to participate in. So on both ends, I think you gotta love it. And again, thank you for having me on to just talk about how great Inter Miami is and how great their offseason's been, because this has me all smiles. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, no. Real quick, Tim, I want to ask you one more thing, and then I'll let you go because I know you just did a show yourself. I don't want to hold you over. I'm sure you'd like to have a break. Before I ask you about production predictions, is there one spot they have not upgraded at this year? And I'm talking about starting 11, not depth. I'm saying, is there any guy who has been replaced that you wouldn't consider to be an upgrade?
I just Reguilon, but I think he'll be an upgrade in his own ways. I think Jordi Alba's a better player. And same for the Busquets replacement. I don't know if he's going to be a better player, but I think it will fit better, whether it's Yannick Breyer or David Ajala. So, no, I don't think you can look at this 11 and not be more excited pretty much across the board with what's possible here.
All right, Scotty, let's get into the fun part here. So Berterame, he's going to have some crazy, crazy service here. This lineup looks nuts, right? This looks like a crazy, it doesn't even look like an MLS starting 11 you would ever see. They're going to spend $15 million on him. And a lot of people, I was talking with a friend earlier about how the service that a player in front of Messi gets is so good that are you really needing to spend a lot of money on a striker, which I disagree. I think you should, because if a guy's really good and gets that type of service, who the hell knows what they could do, right? We don't know. We've never really seen a guy this young in MLS with Messi to see what he can in this caliber. I mean, Suarez had 21 goals in 2024 on essentially half a leg. So Berterame definitely has a lot more gas left in the tank. What do you think barring any injuries, this is if everyone's healthy, do you think Berterame, how many goals do you think he will score in MLS? And what would be considered a failure if he doesn't meet that number?
Let me start with the second part, success or failure. I don't I don't think it has anything to do with how many goals he scored. I think it's all about that CONCACAF Champions Cup run and whether they can win it or not. And if they win it, it's a success. And if they don't, it's not. And much like Rodrigo de Paul last year, he gets the game-winning goal in the MLS Cup final, and it makes the deal a success. But to be on the record for number of goals scored, listen, Luis Suarez was a guy that liked to pull off and be creative sometimes. Berterame is a scorer, a guy that likes to be in the box, likes to find, makes those darting runs at the end and finish. And I'm not sure we've seen that with Messi at the striker position since he got to Inter Miami. So to be ambitious, I don't think is unfair about what's possible. I think 25 goals in the MLS is maybe the expectation for him if he plays at least, 32, 33 MLS games. But I would be kind of afraid to cap what's possible because he's going to have the best service of his life. He's already got a real good knack for finishing. He plays all the time. It's not like a guy that is going to miss 2-3 week periods every year for hamstring issues. He played 4,000 minutes last year. So, if you want to say he's going to, 30 plus goals, I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility if everyone can stay healthy and be productive and this works the way it does. I think it could be really impressive. And Silvetti, I think, is underrated creator as well. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think 25 is probably my floor if he starts every game. And I think he could score maybe 35 goals if he plays every match with the service he's going to get. And some people might think that's crazy or just putting unrealistic expectations on him. But, Allende, my God, how many goals would he have had if he hadn't whiffed so many times?
Well, and I think Berterame is going to be a much better goal scorer in terms of just his instincts and his finishing ability than Allende. So, yeah, I don't think you're crazy. And I agree with you. Some people are going to see that and think it's crazy. I think when you're talking all competitions, you can see a world where 40 goals might be like there. So
yes.
I don't think that's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, Allende had 9 goals. He broke the MLS. Nobody heralds Allende as one of the best players in MLS history, yet his name's in the record books for the most goals in an MLS playoff run. And that's just because the service and opportunities he was getting. Now, I want to give him credit, he was converting them, but it's not like Allende is just some, all of a sudden a world-class player. It's just he was getting on real service.
And if you take his form in that last 10 games maybe, but especially the last playoff run, and you expand that over the course of the season, you are talking about 45 goals. So if you have a better finisher, it feels realistic.
Yeah, and to touch on your Silvetti point, I think that he, obviously outside of Messi, I think he's the second best player on the team. His ceiling's unreal. I think he's going to be an MLS record for an outgoing fee. Someone I think offered, 15 million for him more recently. I can't remember what team it was. I think he's, could go for 25, 30 million easily, maybe even 35 if they have a really good season at Inter Miami, just because you get the Messi bump. We saw Diego Gomez go for 15 million to Brighton, and Silvetti scores goals and creates chances, which is obviously more valuable than what Diego Gomez. No, Diego Gomez is very valuable, but I'm saying when you're buying players, a box-to-box midfielder is not going to cost as much as what a chance creator is going to cost.
No, I agree with you. I mentioned it earlier. I don't think a lot of people will look at this 11 and say Silvetti is the second best player on this team. I think at the end of the season, there might be people saying he's the second best player on this team behind Messi. And, I don't even want to think about him transferring yet because he is 19 years old. He's so young. He could stay 3 years if Inter Miami was determined to keep him. I think there's going to be suitors already, but by the summer and by next winter. So I think he's good. I agree with you. I think he's a superstar.
Before I let you go, did you for a quick second forget that Suarez was still on this team?
No, but I will say my opinion on what he was going to be in 2026 has changed more dramatically over the last 16 hours than any other player, any other, factor of this team. I thought he was going to start probably 70% of games, maybe the least important 70%. But I thought he was going to play a lot this year, and now I'm not sure he's going to play a lot at all. And as we started this show, I mentioned Noah Allen and Telasco Segovia as guys that give you good options off the bench. I did not mention Suarez on purpose because I'm not sure what his role is going to be or if he's going to be particularly impactful this year now.
Yeah, we'll have to see. But Scotty, before I let you go, can you tell the people, well, first of all, I appreciate you for coming on, hopping on and talking about this Inter Miami news, which feels like there's news every day. Can you tell the people where they can find your channel at?
Sure. Guys, you can see on screen at Scotty Grays. That's my Twitter handle. And then we do an Inter Miami podcast called the Dry Pink Dialogue that you guys can check out. But thank you so much, man, for having me on. And again, I always I look at this 11 and I could talk for 3 hours about it. So I appreciate you giving me the opportunity.
I appreciate you coming on, my friend. We'll have you back on at some other point. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of Inter Miami news this season. Make sure you guys go check them out. Scotty, I appreciate it, man. Go enjoy the news. Go enjoy the Saturday. There's a lot of people who wish that Inter Miami or their teams were signing even one of the guys Inter Miami are signing. So you guys are very, very fortunate. I appreciate it, my friend.
Yeah, man. Have a great day.
Yeah, you too. Appreciate Scotty coming on to talk about Inter Miami. Crazy stuff. There was one other thing, though, I wanted to touch on, too, before we head out. Because there were people, there was a lot of the rumors about Inter Miami signing Berterame. But, some people were skeptical, but we heard it directly from Jorge Mas, the owner of Inter Miami. He said, confirms interest. He's a player who deserves to be part of Inter Miami. He expects resolution in the next 24 to 36 hours. And I had mentioned earlier that Berterame had been courted by Portland Timbers and FC Cincinnati, agreed to the terms, agreed to the transfer fee, and then pulled out last second. A lot of love for Scotty. Yeah, I appreciate him for coming on for sure. But this just feels different. This is the Messi effect, right? We feel like Messi is kind of pulling this to where Berterame will officially leave Liga MX and come to MLS and Inter Miami. And, I was thinking about this too as well. Is Berterame the best striker in MLS now? Is he the best striker in CONCACAF? Because I thought he was the best striker in Liga MX. And a lot of people think Liga MX is better than MLS. So if he's the best striker in Liga MX, is he the best striker in Major League Soccer now? I think there's an argument he could be. And I'll tell you this too. We were talking about this with Scotty about the service that he's going to get with Messi now and how many goals he's going to score, which I'd love to know what you guys think. How many goals do you think that he's going to score with Inter Miami with the service he's going to get? But Berterame, I think, is going to I think with the service he's going to get, the form he's going to be in is insane. And maybe he does have a chance to make the Mexican national team roster for the 2026 World Cup. I know a lot of people, some people I don't think are a big fan of him. Mexican national team fans really like Berterame, but we'll see if he's playing in insane form. I mean, I think he has a good chance of playing for Mexico in 2026. Rocky thinks 25 plus goals. I agree. I mean, I think that this is something we've never seen before, guys, in MLS. Like, this is crazy. I'm truly scared for the rest of the league. And someone had said, Cringe says Austin's making moves too. They are making moves, but it just pales in comparison to what Inter Miami are doing. I mean, Inter Miami are having a generational run when it comes to the offseason. And I just think that they are going to be even better in 2026 than they were in 2025. And they already won everything in 2025 in MLS, at least. They won the MLS Cup. So we don't even know what their ceiling truly is. And that's why I said that I think that they have to win the CONCACAF Champions Cup. And I want to pull that up too real quick. Let me pull this up. And I'm curious if you guys agree with this. I've had Danny from the Battered Herons come on a couple times to talk about their offseason, which keeps on changing. I mean, my God, it just feels like they continuously do new things all the time. I tweeted this kind of jokingly, but kind of serious too. Inter Miami are pulling in LA Dodgers. I genuinely feel bad for the rest of the league. I hope some of the teams step it up. And I said the only team, I did also say the only team I don't feel bad for, the cheap teams who refuse to spend. They can't get relegated and have no ambition to win. But if Inter Miami don't win the CONCACAF Champions Cup with what they've done this offseason, I do think that people need to be fired like Javier Mascherano, because we're talking about the best offseason I've ever seen on a team that already won MLS Cup. They've got youth, they've got depth, they've got quality. They have everything you could possibly need. And the expectations are that they should win the CONCACAF Champions Cup and MLS Cup again. Do you think they will get Blackman? There's a lot of drama with that too. Jorge Mas talked about that a little bit today. They had talked about there being an agreement and Vancouver pulling out on it. And that was very frustrating for him. And it seems like it's not going to happen. I mean, I guess it's a chance, but I don't think that it's going to happen anytime soon. They probably will move on to another target. Which Mexican teams do you think have better squads than Inter Miami? Um, Probably Club America is the closest, and I think Club America would have to play Inter Miami in the quarterfinals, if I'm not mistaken. I think that would be where they would link up. I could be wrong about that, but I think that they would have to link up in the quarterfinals. Um, I'll have to look at the bracket again later, but I'm telling you, this might be the best roster in North America. I'm telling you that right now. Inter Miami won MLS Cup with a bunch of older guys. They never had quality like this, the depth like this. Huge expectations in 2026 for this team. We'll see what happens. I feel very bad for their MLS teams fans. They're not getting the same commitment that Jorge Mas has given his club. And it's really, really sad, for the rest of the league, because there's other teams that could be doing stuff like this as well. And they're just choosing not to do this. I mean, LAFC have a DP spot open right now, and they're signing Nashville SC's throwaways. So that's very sad to see. But Inter Miami, Berterame going to Inter Miami. This is going to be a very fun season for Major League Soccer, just to see what happens when a super team is in a league and how the other teams play against them and how they manage to play against a club of that quality. I'm excited to see. I hope you guys enjoyed this emergency Saturday episode. If you did, 150 of you in the chat right now, make sure you guys smash the like button if you haven't already before you head out. Smash the like button to help us out. We're trying to get to 100 likes. And also make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. The most and biggest MLS content that there is, all for you guys. And I appreciate all your support. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel and hit that little bell notification so you never miss another video. Hope you guys enjoy your Saturday. We'll be back tomorrow with another video. I'm recording with Favi and Rankel, so stay tuned for that. And I'm sure there'll be some more transfer news, maybe even more Inter Miami news in the near future. But until then, guys, I will see you all soon.